Good day. I am going to try to show you how to do some inlay work using LightBurn. Now I've already done a file in TurboCAD, which is my drawing program. And I like that because it has a lot of flexibility. I can do a lot of things. And I also use it for my CNC. So it serves a dual purpose. Now the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to do an import of the DXF file. And let's see what we got here. We've got two DXF files, and I think I'm going to take that one. So I'll open that up. Okay, now that shows you my design. Now my top, this is a top of a box, and it's going to be 10 inches by 6 inches. That's the standard size I use. And I've already come up with a nice design that I've got from a Moroccan building that I was at a couple of weeks ago. So the first thing you got to do is ungroup everything here because this is a DXF. So you go to Arrange and Ungroup. And that lets me select each individual item separately. Now I don't really need these two stars at the bottom. So I'm going to just go ahead and delete those out of there so we don't get confused. Now the other thing is I'm going to try to do this entire thing all in one shot. And the inlay mechanism works with two ways. You have to do a pocket first, and then you do the inlay second. So what I'm going to show you first is doing the pocket. Now, this is the outside edge of the box, and I'm not going to do anything with that. So I'm going to make that into an invisible layer, which is that. And that's just going to help me with my reference points, which is going to be over here. So in order to see if I'm going to, if this will work, I will select the entire area, and including my reference area. And I'm going to go to Tools, Preview. And I can see I've got a problem because it's exactly backwards from what I want. Though this itself would be an interesting pattern, it's not what I want. So what I'm going to do here is then do a selection of this outer one using a Control mouse key. And you can see how that got unselected. Now I do Tools, Preview, and OK. Everything in black is going to be cut. So you see it? And everything in white is going to be untouched. So I think I'm OK with that. Now let's set up our speeds and powers. So since this is all set up for the black, I'll double click on speed power here. And I'm going to do 100 inches per minute at 20 watts. Now the reason I do that is it gives me a nice pocket that's approximately 0.11 inches in depth. And I don't like to go fast because I'm more interested in the precision than I'm in anything else. And I don't mean precision as far as exact 0.125 inches. I'm talking about I want my corners square, I want my edges square, and I get that without having to worry about any belts by going a little bit slower than I could. Because I could go all the way up to 400 if I so desire. But we'll stay at 100 inches per minute at 20 watts. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to look at is, okay, number of passes, that's fine. And I'm going to click this button here, which says Scan Shapes Individually. I like that because instead of scanning back and forth on the system like this would do, it's just going to finish one before it goes to the next one. And I think that does a better job. Your results may vary. You may want to do the scan all shapes at once, but this is the way I work. So I hit OK here. So I'm basically ready. My output is going to be to a router on the Ethernet, and all I have to do is hit the start button, and everything should happen magically for the pockets anyways on the machine. So I'm going to hit the start, and here we go. Comes the fun part. We're actually going to cut the inlays that are going to go into the pockets we just did. So one thing I did ahead of time was I decided I wanted to circle around each one of the stars. So I did that in this red, and I used 60 speed and 40 watts to cut the circle in there. Okay, so let's go. So the first thing I want to do is I don't want to mess around with the original piece. So I cut everything, I select everything up, and I do an edit duplicate, and then I'll just move it down out of the way. Okay, now I can work on this, and I'll use my mouse to scroll in and get the areas that I'm interested in. So I have to do a lot of inlay cuts. All of these inlay cuts are going to be exactly similar in nature. The only thing I'm going to make some adjustments to is I might have to adjust my speeds based on what type of wood I'm going to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the inner layers over here. And I'm going to do that. Hold down the control key, select the next one, select the next one, and select the next one. Okay, so I got those 4 done, and I've decided that I'm going to do that in Picardy. So the first thing I'm going to do is assign it a different layer because I'm going to do a different speed. So I'm going to do a cut, and what I find works best for me is somewhere in the order of 15 inches per minute at maybe, let's say 60 watts. Now, come down here, and this is curve, and we're going to talk about curve. On my system, I'm going to do a curve of 0.014. Now, why is that? And that's probably the most important key is this curve right now. And we want to make sure it goes outward. Remember that the beam of the laser is not going to give you a perpendicular straight cut all the way down through. And the way LightBurn works is we're on the center of that line that we're cutting. So we're actually cutting the pockets just a tad bigger than what we really need. Now the beam width is around 0.007. And that means that we're going to be cutting a little bit more on one side and a little bit more on the other side, so my pocket's going to be a little bit bigger. Now, there's a second problem. When we're doing a cut of an inlay, the actual inlay, the laser cut, isn't perpendicular all the way down in through the piece of wood. It's going to be cutting at a sort of a shallow V, because as it's blasting its way down into the wood, it's throwing out stuff, so that the actual beam width of 0.007 is only attained at the very bottom of that cut, where the focus point is going to be. And at the top part, we're going to have a wider cut than at the bottom, and we're going to use that to our advantage. So what I usually do if I have a non-standard if I have a non-standard pattern, is to mirror image my work, because what I'm going to be doing is the top part of the inlay is going to be turned upside down, and that's going to be down, so that my narrowest part of my V goes into the pocket. And now on a one that I have right here, I don't have to worry about it because everything's symmetrical. So no matter what happens, the top is already mirrored as far as I'm concerned. And this part here will actually be put into here. This part here will be put into there. This part here be put into here. This part here would be put into there when we finally do our inlays. So now I have everything looking good. I have a cut, 15,060. So let's see if my preview looks good. And it doesn't. I don't know what happened over here. Something's wrong. Okay, so let's go back here. There we are. I should have said cut selected graphics, use selection graphics. Okay. Now let's try that again. Tools, preview. That looks much better. Okay. So Everything is set up inside of the system. All I have to do is punch that button and we should be cutting our inlays. Okay, these are the woods I'm going to use for the inlay. I start off over here with some tiger wood. That's what this is. This is black walnut. This is Bacardi. I love Bacardi. It's one of my favorite woods. And then this is paddock. Now I cut each one of these to be approximately 0.1 inches thick. So with 0.1 inches, 0.125 inches, it gives me a very nice cut. I don't have to use all that much power, and it fits very nicely into the joint. So I don't know what colors I'm going to use yet. I'm going to take a look at this and we will start to work on the PC. Okay, so I did all my cutting already, and we have all of our woods. This is paddock, this is tiger wood, this is walnut, this is wenge, paddock again, and Bacardi. So you lay it out in the way that you cut it. And remember, we're going to mirror image this out. So the next step is going to be pretty interesting, and we're going to start right away. Okay, before I begin, we were talking about kerf measurement again. And one of the things that the easiest way to measure the kerf that you've got is when you do a single line test here with your same power that you're going to be cutting out your inlays with. You got a line here. That's what I use. Now I have this feeler gauge, which is $7 or $6. It's very cheap. You can buy this at your automotive department store. And all you have to do is keep putting them in until one of them fits. Now mine is 0.014, which is what the number was that I've been using. So it's very simple to measure your kerf. You know exactly what your kerf is. Okay, let's put that away. So this is the piece of wood that we've already pocketed it out. Now for the tools, I'm going to be using Titebond Premium for my glue. There are others, but this is the one I prefer. I also have a glue stick that I purchased at Rockler, and it's a silicone on one side, silicone on the other, and it lets me get inside of the grooves. So this is a very essential tool. I also have two pieces of MDF, which you'll see why, very shortly, and I use maybe a ½ pound mallet. It doesn't matter which side I use a ½ pound mallet. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these two stars very easily. So put a little bit of glue in there on each one. Make sure you have enough there to cover it. And then using your tool, just swish it around in there. And the important part is to make sure that your edges are covered. It doesn't matter really so much on the bottom, but it's important that your edges have sufficient glue. Because after all, that's what you're going to be showing off, is the edges. Nobody's going to see the bottom. And if your veneer is that big, I think you got some problems anyways. So once that's done, remember we're doing the opposites. Turn it upside down and put it in. It should be a tight fit. Now I'm going to use an appropriate size MDF, and that's all I have to do. Now you notice it's a little proud, and that's exactly what you want, because when you sand it down, it'll be flush. Now I'm going to do the other one. Upside down, because of the V. Put it in there. Make sure that it's totally in. Okay. There's a piece of wood underneath. That was why it was making so much noise. Okay. So from here, I'm going to go in and do the centers and work my way out. And this is the paddock next that I think, yep, that's the paddock. So So I just spread it around. I'll do one a little bit more. Spread the glue around, make sure it's good. Let's get some in here. No, not enough. Now, if you've got too much, it's going to not let the inlay sit. So let's just make sure that we understand that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the bigger paddock pieces, and again, the opposite because of the. So, just go in there. Okay, so I'm just going to put all the rest in, and from now on, you'll probably see the speed up until the end here. So we got all the inlays in, and I let it dry for about 12 hours and make sure everything is set. So what I'm going to do on this next step is do the sanding. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 60 grade, go to 80 grade, go to 110, go to 120, go to 220, go to 320, and go to 400. At that point, I'll take a look at it and say, okay, what are we going to do? If I really like it, I will go to 600, 1000, and 2000 grades sandpaper. But anyways, the basic problem here is that the top is going to be made out of oak. Now, oak in itself is a very coarse grain, so it doesn't contribute to going past, I wouldn't go too much past 400 grade on this one here. So I use an orbital sander, and it's not the best way to do this. If you had a big belt sander, 6-inch belt sander, that would be the best. But for now, I'm just going to use this orbital sander, and we'll quickly go through this process, starting at 60 grade sandpaper. So you can quickly see how we got the stars pretty much done. Now that's down with 60. Now it's going to take a lot of work for me to get this done, so I'm just going to turn off the video. There's no sense you watching this one. So after you do the mineral spirits to clean it up, this is what it's going to look like. Okay? I think it looks pretty good. Now I generally use Whatcom oil to finish this up. I use the natural. One of the other tricks to do is when you're doing an inlay, if this is white, then you don't have to worry about all of the grain showing up on these cross patterns. So sometimes people like to do that, and it's this, you don't get the distraction from the background. So if this is solid maple, then these would pop out a little bit better. So you really want contrasting colors as much as possible. So that's why I chose the Wenge, Walnut, Paddock, and Bacardi. Now the Tigerwood, this is the first time I've used Tigerwood as an inlay. I probably would use it as a box top, but I'm not really impressed with it as an inlay. But, you know, maybe with maple wood it would look a little bit better. So that's really it. And if you have any questions, you know, post them on the Facebook page or send me an email at the email I got listed on the end of this video. Thank you.